Evening, everyone. Are we ready? Okay. Thank you for waiting. I would like to go ahead and call our December council meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, December 17th, and it is 7:03 PM. If I can please have a moment of silent meditation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United Madam Clerk, may I please have roll call?
Roll call, Mayor Cubillos,
Here.
Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Here.
Councilperson Mathis is not here, Councilperson Urbam's not here, Councilperson Roman.
Here.
Councilperson Urbam just walked in. Also present for the record, Janice Jacoby, Village Clerk, Christia Lu, Village Manager, Norman Powell, Interim Village Attorney.
Thank you for that. Councilperson Urban just walked in. I have a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Motion's been made to approve the agenda as is by Councilperson Roman. Is there a second?
I second the approval, Madam Mayor.
Second by Vice Mayor Nickerson. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Hearing none, our agenda for December 17th passes as is. Is there a motion to adopt and approve the minutes for our November 19th regular council meeting?
Motion to approve.
Motion's been made by Councilperson Roman. Is there a second?
Second the motion, Madam Mayor.
Second by Vice Mayor Nickerson. Is all in favor of passing the minutes for November 19th? Signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, hearing none, our minutes for the November 19th a regular council meeting has passed and will be posted on the website. I want to welcome everybody this evening. It's our December holiday council meeting. We do have a brief but robust agenda. I'd like to go ahead, and I have the honor this evening of asking the council to join me at the podium. We received word from a resident and from the mayor of Miami Beach that we have a resident amongst us who has and was nominated for a Grammy. And it's a Grammy, not only is it a Grammy that she was nominated for, but the category has been in inception since 1998. And it's the first time that there is a female that has been nominated. So as such, we're going to recognize her this evening with the proclamation on behalf of the village of El Portal. She has been a resident, she's owned a home on and off since 2004. So if you can all welcome me, and I can ask the council to join me at the podium so I can read the proclamation to Ms. Tracy Young. And if Ms. Tracy Young can please join us at the podium.
So formal. I'm not used to being so formal. Am I standing in the right place? This podium or that podium? Okay. This is crazy. Thank you so much.
Hello, hello. Oh, it works. It's a little
Oh,
long.
wow. Look at that.
So I received her press release from Miami Beach, and I also received it from her LA manager. So I took some time to do a little history on her because I thought it was important. We all started somewhere, and if you all can just humor me and listen to the proclamation on behalf of the Village Council. Whereas Tracy Young, an El Portal resident since 2016, is a pioneer in the music industry with over 60 #1 Billboard Club chart hits in her almost 3 decades-long career. And whereas in this male-dominated world of DJing, record remixing, thank you, and producing, Tracy Young has recently broken a glass ceiling. And whereas Tracy Young has collaborated on remixes with over 100 great artists of our time, to include but not limited to Britney Spears, Beyonce, Stevie Nicks, Christina Aguilera, Gloria Estefan, Katy Perry, Demi Lovato, Cher, Shakira, Pink, Rihanna, Lady Gaga, And whereas Tracy Young exclusively collaborated on 14 remixes for and with Madonna, whereby in which for she was nominated for a 2019 Grammy Award. And whereas Tracy Young, the first female to ever be nominated in this category of Best Remixed Recording since its inception in 1998, despite her having been eligible in previous years. And whereas Tracy Young's Grammy Award nomination is for her original remixed recording of Madonna's I Rise, in parentheses, Tracy Young's Pride Radio intro mix off of her Madame X album. And whereas Tracy Young is a fearless advocate of LGBTQI and women's rights, and she is proud to be part of the history-making moment and the legacy it is going to leave behind, and whereby she is forever grateful for the support of powerful women in her early career. And whereas given the opportunity to work with First Lady Michelle Obama on her This Is For My Girl song, which was written by Diane Warwick and featured Kelly Clarkson and Missy Elliott, among others, and whereby Tracy's official remix of this single saw all proceeds from U.S. iTunes purchases to go to the Peace Corps' Let Girls Learn Fund. And whereas Tracy Young, who told Billboard magazine of this dance tune dubbed the Tracy Young First Lady Remix Edit, and I quote, "Peace, education, love, respect, and all in the name of impacting women on a global scale. What could be better than this?" she said. And whereas Tracy Young, right after high school, started her DJ career at a time when female DJs were almost unheard of, but even so, she quickly rose up the ranks from mix show DJ to music director on WPGC 95.5 FM in Washington, D.C. And whereas, and thereafter, it was Interscope Records that brought her to Miami, Florida, whereby she met Madonna in the mid-90s. And whereas this was Tracy Young's tipping point, her impressionable talent, undeniable skill, and empowering enthusiasm led her to be hired by this music legend to perform not only in her movie premieres and album releases, but even at her wedding. And whereas Tracy Young, bestowed with the Madonna stamp of approval and unprecedented talent, has inspired collaboration with other top performing artists. And whereas Tracy Young is now the top go-to remixer and DJ, she has become a global electronic music celebrity, is in high demand in the LGBTQI community for her live performances at various Pride events worldwide. And whereas Tracy Young, composer, DJ, producer, and remixer, and El Portal resident, has completed 7 musical compilations of her own label for Roche Records, and officially remixed for over 100 musical artists. So now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Mayor and Village Council of El Portal that our El Portal resident musical artist, Tracy Young, is hereby also going to be honored with a key to our village in recognition of her accomplishments and groundbreaking honor that will hopefully inspire future generations of female producers and remixers in this industry. The Mayor and Village of El Portal hereby publicly recognizes and acknowledges these achievements and also will proclaim this day as a Tracy Young Day. Thank you.
You're kidding me.
No, so, the city of Miami mayor and the city of Miami Beach mayor tell me that they're naming my resident the Tracy Young Day. So they're like, Mayor Cabillas, what are you going to do? And I'm like, oh, okay. So I call the manager right away. I said, okay, I'm going to think about this. So here you go. Congratulations on behalf of all of us.
Thank you. I mean, you said just about everything. This is, I can't help but get choked up because I've worked so hard. And you guys, paying and recognizing me for some of my achievements in my life is just, it means the world to me. And I love El Portal. I consider it my home. I've loved this neighborhood for, 20 years almost, when I started looking for a house. So I'm proud to be part of El Portal, and I'm here for you guys if you need a block party, like you need a DJ. I'm right down the street. Thank you guys so very much.
So if I can ask everybody who's here, especially residents, can you come join us for a photo? Because this is really our moment, so if you can come and join. I see many residents just coming up, and let's get a photo with all of them. Come on.
I'm in.
Sorry. Better late than never, I guess, right?
Let's go right here. Let's go right here. Big smiles. All right, right here. Don't move. Big smiles. Look down. Thank you.
At this time, we have good and welfare. We have 3 agenda items. They're all or ordinances. Before we go right into them, anybody in good and welfare would like to come up and mention anything or ask anything about the agenda, but we will have one more good and welfare in the end.
Hi, I'm Dr. Margaret Okonkwo, and I own 211 Northeast 89th Street. This came up, I think, at the last meeting about the lighting that they're considering putting up in the neighborhood for the street lighting. And I'd mentioned that in the neighborhood where I live, Belmead, the island has really intense lighting that's too bright, and it's not nice for the neighborhood. I was just at a party where the roads past Brickell also just went through a process of replacing their lighting. They did half the neighborhood, and the other half of the neighborhood said absolutely not. That's how bad it was. So just trying to learn lessons from other people before we spend the money.
Thank you. Anybody else in good and welfare? Okay, hearing none, we're gonna go right into the, we have 3 ordinances on the agenda that are all tied in together, so if I can have the attorney please walk us through the first, second, and third with a brief explanation, and then go ahead and read the ordinance into the record, please.
Okay, the first ordinance number 219-06, I'll read it into the record. An ordinance of the Village Council of El Portal, Florida, amending Article 8, Public Benefits Program to provide for the establishment of a public benefits trust fund, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for conflicts, repealer, severability, codification, and an effective date. What ordinance number 2019-06 does is it amends the Public Benefits Trust Fund section to allow the village to actually receive cash contributions from a developer into a fund that's going to be created by this ordinance. So you'll see in the ordinance in summary that it will require administration by the manager, and the manager will have to provide the council on an annual basis reports as to what's the funds being used for. The balance is just like any other fiscal responsibility agent would have to do.
For a little background, because we have some residents here that have not been here in a little while. So this ordinance has come forward because we have been working with the annexed area, which is behind it's on the tip of my tongue, what is it called? Don Bailey, the Don Bailey road, and Don Bailey, a big sort of shop off of Biscayne Boulevard. So right behind there, there's about a 3-acre parcel, am I correct about that? There's a 3-acre parcel that has been owned by the Barrington brothers for quite a while now. The property is now vacant, and we're looking, for the most part, it's predominantly vacant, and they have been working with the administration on putting forward a project together. With the projects of this, I don't want to say magnitude, because it's not that it's big in scope, but for us in El Portal, it will be. It's going to be something new and exciting. With projects like these, there are benefit factors that can come to the village. And one of them is either through an exaction, a development agreement, or impact fees. So our code was silent in impact fees, and as such, a development agreement was a route that we decided to go. But it's also silent on the village being able to accept funding from a developer to the village. Therefore, we had to put in an ordinance to amend the code to allow us to accept funding. And that's where there's going to be 3 different ordinances. The first one is going to amend the code to allow the village to accept potentially funding on not only this project, but potentially maybe on Little Farm and other projects as the village moves forward. And then the next resolution is going to be about the benefit program. And then I believe the last one will talk a little bit more about the agreement. So after each ordinance, there are a total of 3. After each one, I will call the council for a motion and a second. And after there is a motion on the table to potentially accept the ordinance, I will open up after each one for public comments. And that's the time that you will be able to ask anything on that particular ordinance to the manager, to the attorney, or to the developer themselves who are actually here this evening. You have Ken and AJ with their attorney and their architect who are here, so you all have the ability to ask them as well. So I wanted to kind of walk you through, because again, there's a few of you here that I've not seen in a little while, so you have an idea as to why we're doing these 3 ordinances. So with that said, as the attorney said, this is the ordinance that allow us to amend the code so that we can accept funding from a proprietor developer from in the village that wants to develop a project. And if I can please ask them to put them up in the easels, because I see the easel and I see the projects, but I think it would be great to have them. I see 2 easels, maybe one on this side and one on that side. It allows the opportunity for everybody here to be able to see them. With that said, do I have a motion to adopt the ordinance 2019-06?
I'll make a motion to adopt 2019-06, Madam Mayor.
There is a motion to adopt 2019-06. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Councilperson Urban, and the motion was made by Vice Mayor Nickerson. Another point that I forgot to mention that's actually even more important is that there will be 2 readings. So this is just the first reading. There is a second reading that will most likely probably happen in the February council meeting. We'd like to allow ourselves about 60 days so that we give the opportunity for the Barrington brothers to host a town hall with us, and it gives the residents time to take a look at more at the project. So there is a motion to adopt ordinance 2019-06. Motion was made by Vice Mayor Nickerson, and it was seconded by Councilperson Urban. I'd like to open it up for discussion from the council. Councilperson Urban.
So we're doing these 3 together in a specific order for a specific reason, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, just for clarification, would it be possible to have the attorney walk us through the reason for?
All right, so the 2019-06 amends Article 8, the Public Benefits Program, to allow the creation of, allow the contribution to the the fund. So we did not have the ability to do that under the existing ordinance. So you'll see that the fund is, its intent is amended to allow for this fund to be created for supportive acquisition of park space, open space, reinvestment and improvements, tree planting and landscaping within the village's boundaries. And as I mentioned before, it also has requirements for fiscal responsibility on the part of the manager and providing reports annually, fiscal reports to the council. So the second one, when we get to the second one, will actually amend the existing public benefits program, which is section 24B.21 of the code, to permit the village manager to do two things. One, to recommend the amounts that a particular developer would seek to develop in the village to the village council for your approval. And second, it gives somewhat of a guideline in section 3 that the amounts that the manager would recommend would be based upon the market price in the area within the village or within the market area adjacent to the village. And then the last ordinance that you're going to take up now is actually going to be consideration of the development agreement itself, wherein the council would be asked to authorize the mayor and manager to actually execute the development agreement, which includes the project description itself and also the development fee that was negotiated. So that's the reason why we're doing it in those steps. If we did it any other way, we wouldn't really have the logical sequence of events in amending our code to permit for the development agreement to go forward. So it has to go last.
No one else has any questions?
Any questions? Is that?
I have one more question. So, under this structure then, developments in the future would be negotiated entirely by the mayor and manager?
There is no discussion within the ordinances as to who the, other than the manager, who would be the point for the village. Usually, based upon my experience with the village, based upon the committee systems, generally whoever's the chair of a particular committee that would be, in this particular case, planning and zoning, it would fall under their responsibility to at least assist or be the point person from the council to participate in those negotiations. Similar to when we do the collective bargaining agreement with the police department, whoever's the chair of the public safety committee actually participates in those discussions.
And then, just as we're experiencing now, then, once we have a development plan or an agreement, then it comes in front of the council. Is that correct?
Right, correct,
So, okay.
correct. That's one of the beauties of El Portel's legislative process. It takes its lead. I think it's a good one. You have work product that comes out of what I just mentioned, the manager sitting down with either the chair of a particular committee, depending on what the issue is, coming back with work product that goes to the committee process first, which allows those committee members to further workshop the document or whatever is being proposed, and then it's then presented to the full council for every council person's consideration. So there's so many layers of, checks and balances, if you want to use that term, wherein everybody, including the public, has an opportunity to participate in full transparency.
Can I add something? Also, I want to correct one thing that the attorney said, or I don't remember who said it. So when any agreement is in a draft final format, it always goes to the committee. So it doesn't come directly to the council. So when this agreement went to the Planning and Zoning Committee, that is 100% also the opportunity for every member on that committee to opine on any way, shape, or form on anything. And that's planning and zoning. Like the same would go for public works, same would go for public safety. Everything gets workshop, which we've mentioned many times to the residents that that's really where all of the work happens, because that's where we can really say, no, let's cross out that, let's put that, let's cross out that, and then from there, the attorney will draft the reso as needed, or redraft the agreement as needed, or whatever it is that we're working on. Or not, sometimes it's not even gonna be the attorney having to draft it. It's the same thing for whoever we're working with in front of us. And it wasn't just the Barrington Brothers, it was also the yoga studio. So they're always gonna come to the appropriate committee, and that is, the council will always have the opportunity to opine. Always, 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 always. And that's done at the committee, because we all can meet together when we're meeting with the, and then the other point would be when the manager and the clerk, well, actually the clerk sends out the committee notice, where the committee notice has an agenda item, and the agenda item is an agreement or a resolution. You know, that is always the opportunity for you to pick up the phone and meet with the manager, meet with the developer, meet with the client, whoever the case may be. So there's always that opportunity as well to be able to. And many times when that has happened, we've gone back and changed a few things because, hey, you know what, it makes more sense, or it is a better idea. So always take a look at when we get the agendas, because it's always going to be a time for us to pick up the phone and call, whether it's the manager, whether it's the attorney, or whoever the case may be, just not one another. Okay. I don't know if that answers it. That helps. Okay. Any other question on this ordinance? I want to close the council and open up for comments. If I can close the council meeting and open up for any public comments on this particular ordinance. State your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. Courtney Kirk, 265 Northeast 87th Street. First, thanks for getting the microphones to work. It's really much nicer to hear what's going on. Secondly, on this particular item, I've got two questions / concerns. One, what is the method we're going to use to make sure that this trust fund cannot be raided and or transferred at somebody's convenience? And secondly, I'd love to see the phrasing ensure that this is for capital improvements, meaning that these are one-time things, not ongoing operating expenses. If I were trying to read the content, I could say, oh, landscaping, well, that's kind of doing a few things every week. So I'd like to suggest that perhaps that the phrasing be changed to ensure capital improvements. Thank you.
Any other public comments on this, Lauren?
Thank you. Just a couple of questions. I haven't been here, one of those who have not been here for a while. Where is the location of this structure?
It is, do you know where Don Bailey's Carpet, right off of Biscayne and about 83rd?
Yes.
It's west behind it. It's 83rd and 84th Street. What's the Crossroad Avenue? Fourth Place.
That's close enough. And what has become of our charrette and the Little Farm Trailer Park? Is that still viable?
I can let Juan chime in if you want, but every, did you state your name and address for the record?
Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. Lauren Christos, 389 Northeast 86th Street.
I'm going to let Juan answer, but I will preface it by saying that everybody that comes to do developing here, they have a copy of the charrette and they work directly with Juan.
Okay.
And between Juan, I don't know if you want Juan from Placerbia, he's been with us. He's been with us since we adopted the charrette through the comp plan, initially back in 14. Back in
Right.
14, we started, and it was adopted in April of 16, the comp plan, to include the updates of the charrette.
I recollect that.
Yeah, you recollect, okay. So the vision of the Little Farm and the, any development is to go along with the vision of the charrette, and I'll let Juan chime in a little more.
Thank you.
Yeah, the Little Farm is the parcel that is further north. It's actually abuts to the south to this parcel. This parcel was part of the annex area, which at the time had not been annexed by El Portal during the charrette. And you know, the way that we worked with the applicant was to look at how compatible that would be with the future development of the Little Farm Trailer Park.
So may I am I correct in understanding that this unit and the development of the little farm trailer park will be cohesive in some fashion in order to benefit the community of El Portal?
That's the intention, but we don't have plans on what's going to happen at the trailer park yet.
May I ask also, thank you, how tall this building is?
This building is 7 stories, right?
8.
8 stories?
Eight.
8 stories? Okay. I happen to be driving down Biscayne Boulevard, which I try to avoid, and I noticed an enormous structure going up. Nothing to do with us or the council or El Portal, but it's a large residential leasing opportunity. It looks like a mega, much larger than this, development going up. And I'm just curious if there's been a traffic impact study, not, obviously we can't have anything to do with that, but on this, and also how the Little River is impacted. I'm just curious because I know we worked really hard on that charrette, and I would really hope that the visions that were imagined at that time somehow play out or keen through the future of where we all live.
The main takes on that charrette were the volumes and the connectivity throughout the site. This parcel sits south of that
Yes.
charrette, and
Yes.
it has a corner that will be respected as we lay out the future interconnectivity between the sites.
Thank you. Last question. I know this is in the future, but there's been talk of a tri-rail or metro mover or something happening with 79th Street Station. Have you considered down the line of working somehow in developing Miami urban transit opportunities, which I think is critical for our environment?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Our firm actually did the study for the South Florida Regional Transportation Agency earlier this year. Unfortunately, it's a little further south than this site.
Yes.
It would be within half a mile, which is what we call a transit shed.
Correct.
So it would include, it would encompass a lot of this area as part of the study of the station. In fact, I know for a fact this is actually in the city of Miami, but the idea would be to see how that connectivity would work from a pedestrian and bicycle mode in order to not only ease the connectivity, but also incentivize ridership. So it is very important, and it is very close to both this site and the trailer park. So absolutely, we totally agree that it's very, very important.
All right, thank you. I appreciate those efforts, and I really hope they come to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. Any other comments or questions from the residents or anybody in the audience on this particular ordinance? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to close public comments, and I'm going to open it back to the council. Does the council have any questions for either the applicant, for Juan, or for the attorney on this ordinance, which I think this ordinance is really more for the attorney? No. Councilperson Roman? No. Vice Mayor Nixon? Councilperson Urban? Okay. Okay, hearing none, Madam Clerk, can I have roll call, please?
Roll call. Councilperson Urban.
Yes.
Councilperson Roman. Yes. Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Mayor Cubillos.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
If I can ask the attorney to please read the following ordinance, first reading of the following ordinance into the record.
An ordinance of the Village Council of El Portal, Florida, amending Article 8, Public Benefits Program, Section 24-B.21, to provide for trust fund contribution to the Public Benefits Trust Fund, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for conflicts, repealer, severability, codification, and an effective date.
Can you give a little background on it, please?
I'll reiterate what I said earlier. This is going to be a laser amendment to 24-B.21, subsection C. In this section, it permits the manager to recommend the necessary cash contribution to the village for projects in the Zone 5 urban center. And in addition, it includes in D3 a formula or proposed method by which the manager would calculate what the cash contribution would be, and it specifically requires that the manager take into account the market value per square foot charge for units similar of similar projects within the market area within the village.
Any questions from the council to either the attorney or the manager?
My first question would be, there is no structure of the fund outlined as Resident Courtney had pointed out tonight, and then I think at the previous meeting as well. This is simply, it sounds redundant, but my understanding is this is simply because there was not such a mechanism already, so we had to create one.
Right.
And now we're establishing what's going to be going into that, correct?
Correct.
My question becomes, assuming this is passed tonight, how long until we would anticipate the first deposit?
Well, that would be dictated by the development agreement.
So it has not already been dictated by the development agreement?
No, it's in the development agreement. So when you look at the development agreement, I believe that's part of the package. There isn't.
I have a question. The council received the development agreement, I want to say a month ago. Have you all read it?
Yeah. Well, let me just highlight what's in it.
Because it says exactly when the three
Right,
payments
so
will be.
They're
point
basically
to the
scheduled payments, Councilman. There is a initial payment. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but there's initial payment that's called for upon execution.
Third.
Right.
Right, correct. So part of what I'm asking for is a little bit of clarification for residents who are
Right, I
not
understand.
attending all these meetings, right? But really the point is, I'm curious how long the council would have to be able to establish what the structure of this is before that first deposit would arrive. I'm really just trying to get a timeline
What do you mean
of how
this-
much time will we as the council have to really solidify that structure, because whatever that structure looks like, it clearly, there's a need to define that. So
It would be an account. So it would be like any other account on the city's books. So this would be segregated because it's designed solely to receive funds from pertaining to these types of projects, and the use of those funds are dictated by what we just described in the ordinance. So it would just simply be ministerial and going to a bank and opening up an additional account, and it would be entitled the Public Benefits Trust Fund for El Portal, Florida.
I want to also add, and I think this is important, so when the meeting started, I gave a little background. This is going to be a first reading, and the second reading, which when anything will have to happen after the second reading. There's two readings. The first reading is happening tonight in December. The second reading will most likely not happen, and we said this at the planning and zoning meeting, it will not happen in January. We always like, when it's something of this magnitude, we like the second reading to be within at least 60 days, not 30. Why? Because it really gives us the opportunity to have a town hall. And we did the same thing with the developers of the sanctuary, where they came in with an agreement for an alcohol ordinance, and then we passed it in December, as a matter of fact, and in January of 18, we had a town hall with them. So that is the opportunity for, once again, the residents and all of us to come together and really say yay, no, yay, to the project, to all of that good stuff. And then it comes, the development, then all of this comes back to the council in February, and at that point, if it passes, is when we move forward. One of the recommendations, so it's nothing's gonna happen tomorrow. Nothing's gonna happen in January. But one of the things I was gonna mention tonight, that if all of these were to pass in first reading, that in good faith, I think one of the things that we may propose to direct the manager and the attorney to do, to start working on early January, is because one thing is the agreement, which indicates how the payments are going to be made, why the payment method, the amount was decided, and the totality of the dollar and the project. but there seems to be a concern of how that money is going to be spent. They want to be sure that, hey, you're not going to take the $1 million and just, pay it to what have you, and that's completely respectable. We all are property owners here. Some of us own more than one. Completely understand that. So I think what needs to happen as of January, which was what I was going to recommend if these were to pass, was allow the manager and the attorney to start developing what that public trust verbiage is going to be, because that way there is a comfort level. And another thing I said at the planning and zoning meeting is that it's also up to the Administration and Finance Committee. It's also up to the full council that we are aware, we are reading, we are engaged, we are involved, and we're asking questions, not just in the public so you all can hear us, but also in email, calling up the manager, calling up the attorney, and really getting those questions answered, because at the end of the day, it really is up to us also to help allow the manager make the best and the right decision for the totality of the village. But again, I'm just gonna go, this is a first reading. Second reading will be most likely in February. We'll have a town hall hopefully in January with the developers who are here this evening to be able to go over the project. And it really is a good time for the administration to start wording what that's going to look like, to properly define or earmark the dollars. This is going to go specifically to this, it's going to go specifically to that, because I think that that's where the question, it seems to be like it's ambiguous, and it's not. We've agreed that it's going to be a public trust fund, it's going to go for public works, it's going to address parks and all that good stuff. So I think that needs to be defined, so it's not so ambiguous, but we need to allow the time for the administration to do that, and they should start it in January, not wait until after it's all done, which I think was what you're concerned about. So let's not wait till it's all done. Let's start the paperwork and have everything in line, so that we're all on the same page. No? Councilperson Urban? No. Vice Mayor? I'm going to open up to the residents. Okay, let's see if there's any questions here. I'm going to close the council to see if there's any questions. Name and address for the record. This is the time to ask.
Sandra Valencia, 8633 Northeast Miami Court. Do we have, as residents, any access to the technicalities or the details of this project, specifically a website or something that we can go to during this period of time, because we have no info whatsoever?
Is it on the website? Was it emailed to all the packet that we have in front of us was emailed to all the residents as well, and then as we mentioned,
I'm a resident, I don't have it.
did you get the email blast?
I do get a lot of emails from the city, so I don't have it. So I don't see any packet. I mean, if this is the packet, I don't know where it is. So can you please make make that thing available, probably just as a link on our own website or something?
It should be on the website. Every time I email, did you get it? Okay. And he got it. Okay.
It's on our website?
It should be on the website too, yes. When I email the residents, I also send it to the website at the same time.
I didn't get the email, but anyways, okay, I'll look into it, thanks.
No problem.
Courtney Kirk, 265 Northeast 87th. Madam Mayor, I'm going to address you just because the information you just provided. I want to make sure I understand, because I raised a couple of concerns on the previous one. Are you saying that those sorts of concerns will be addressed before the second reading? So the concern I had, hey, the verbiage doesn't include capital, the restriction to capital improvements rather than just any improvements, as well as understanding how the council could say, or the manager could say, hey, that's what the intent is, but I'm not going to do that, or I'm going to transfer the money out. Are you saying that's what's going to happen in January?
Something I thought about when I was here this evening and I was reviewing my notes for my report, that's something that came up, because it has come up a little often with residents that I speak to, is how is this gonna look? How is it gonna go through? We have our first planning and zoning meeting also in January, and I was gonna also bring it up at that meeting, what would it look like? And, you know, to let the manager and the attorney know to start working on sort of the more specifics so that there's an ease to it. Hey, listen, I've lived here also for over 10 years, and our town has never been injected with $1 million of potential of a development agreement, and I completely understand. So in an effort to ensure that we're all on the same page and the manager has a proper instruction, it will say on there, and, you know, they'll be able to give it to us. Committee meetings again start in January, so I think it's a good time to start the year off that way. So that's something I was gonna talk about at the end, if this were to pass, because I'm under the assumption that if they all pass, then it'll most likely pass in March. So if we're aiming in that direction, let's be proactive as opposed to reactive and not wait till after they're passed to do these things. Let's start potentially working on them so that, you know, we have it all lined in together.
Okay, and if I could ask the attorney, I don't know, Madam Mayor or Chair, if I can address the attorney, if that's acceptable or not?
You can ask the attorney.
Okay. With these trust funds, what is the method for taking money and using it for a purpose that it is not originally intended, i.e. transferring out for, you know, whatever, whether the council decides to or the manager decides to, et cetera?
Well, the way the ordinance is drafted, and we're talking about even refining that more between now and the final second reading, the ordinance will provide specific projects or specific improvements or acquisitions that the council would be limited to under the ordinance. So the clear response to that would be if there is a action taken contrary to the provisions in the ordinance, it would violate the ordinance and it would be illegal. So that's, it's codified.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So that means if the council, whether it needed a supermajority or just majority, changed or decided to change, a future council decided to change the ordinance, they could then spend that money on whatever they wanted. Is that accurate or not?
Let me make sure I'm understanding your question. If, once we've clarified the ordinance to provide for specific criteria by which the funds have to be utilized for, if a future council decides to amend the ordinance, it would have to go through the same process we're going through now, a first reading and a second reading.
Okay.
And to further answer your question, if a future council decided to ignore the provisions of the ordinance, it would be illegal, it would be contrary to the ordinance, and any resident or taxpayer would have standing to challenge that action.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
No, anytime.
Madam Mayor, may I
Sorry, yes.
clarify one more thing? Courtney, if I may, the ordinance actually reads, to support the acquisition of land for parks and open space, reinvestment in improvements to existing parks and open space, tree planting and landscaping within the village boundaries. So the reinvestment in improvements is to specifically existing parks and open space, tree planting and landscape within the village boundaries. I don't know if that clarifies further. It doesn't. Okay. You mean capital improvements or the capital? Capital improvements. And your recommendation is to include capital improvements as part of this? So for instance, repaving a road?
Courtney, if you're gonna answer, just come back and put it on the record, please.
I just want to,
Just let them.
my apologies, I just want to
Just let them,
see
it's
if
fine.
we,
Yeah, my suggestion is that we make sure that it is restricted to capital improvements, not ongoing maintenance.
I understand. Got it. Thank you.
Margaret Okonkwo, 211 Northeast 89th Street. In terms of contributions from developers, how much money are they contributing, and was that determined before or after their project was approved? And for future developers, what's the dollar amount that they can contribute? Is there a maximum amount? And will that be determined before or after their project is approved?
A legal question. The project has not been approved.
Okay.
So there's still further work to be done. The site plan is being construed by the consultant. To answer the first question as to the dollar amount, at the last workshop, we kind of described it, but I'll just give you a general overview. We conducted an appraisal through a company that appraised the values adjacent to the site and came up with a workable formula, which is also on the website, so you can read the appraisal. And we negotiated from that standpoint with the developer.
With how much they'll contribute into this fund? is what you're
Correct.
saying.
Correct.
And then just in terms of Miami 21, I don't exactly know where this building is. Does it fit in with the Miami 21 in terms of the number of stories on the building?
The Miami 21, the City of Miami zoning code? You mean our code?
Right, the Miami 21 building code. I don't know if El Portal is part of that, where there was,
Our zoning code,
okay.
right, sorry.
The Miami 21.
No, the Miami 21 is the City of Miami zoning code. We
Okay.
work with the Village of El Portal zoning code, which is similar, if that might,
So, because I'm sure there are single-family homes very close to that 8-story building. So I don't know if there's some sort of code or zoning or something that controls how high a building can be near single-family homes.
yes, our code describes how tall a building can be in certain zones. It's based on the zoning, not the actual land use. The land use in that area is varied. There's a lot of vacant land. There's actually development to the south in the City of Miami, which is higher than single-story, single-family properties. And this area here is Z5, which allows a total of 8 stories with this such contribution.
Sandra Valencia, 8633 Northeast Miami Court. I was just looking through it, like, briefly. I found it, thank you so much, the documentation. So I just noticed that it says something, blah, 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 the name of the project and apartments. So that means this is a rental community? Is this a rental unit of apartments, or is this a condominium? I presume it's not a condominium, right?
The current application is for apartments, yes.
For apartments, that means it's just a rental community?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
Do we have an idea of the rental range in terms of pricing? I mean, the rent, what would be the range in rentals?
That's not part of the application, but
Okay.
if the developer wants to furnish those right now, I assume that they're still working on the numbers.
Okay, I was just trying to understand what would be the person living in this community, It's just next to us and is part of our village, so I would like to know, understand if, what sort of person is the people that are going to be living in this building. So do we have any sort of information, not idea? Is that part of the plan?
Again, the application has not been approved, and.
No, I know.
And the application as it stands now, and again, you can check it on the website, has a range of units. The biggest variation, I guess, on the ground level, they're work-live units, which are units that may create some type of small home-type commercial use. And on the upper levels, they range, am I correct? It's like 1 and 2, and do you have any 3 stories? There's some three bedroom
Three
units.
rooms, yeah, I saw that, but
So-
understanding, well, you can build any sort of edification, but it all depends on what kind of,
Finishes.
Yes, are you looking for? Because I would like to know who will be my, next door neighbor.
Right.
No, we have no idea. Is that something that the village will be interested in
We
finding
have,
out?
that's part of the town hall that we're gonna host in January to get all that, more information on the development.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none. I saw you motion. Did you have a question?
No.
Councilperson Nerman? I saw you motion while they were talking, but it was public comment at the time.
I wanted to So, speaking to, I believe Courtney's concerns were in terms of the structure, not having a structure, right? So we have some guidance in terms of how the money's gonna be spent. So I also feel it is important to really detail what the structure would be. That's the purpose of my question of saying how much time do we have to do that before the first deposit, because without that, then the first withdrawal, and so, because the way I see this fund going in the long term is like the note that I put is long-term short deposit duration, meaning how many developments are we really going to have in El Portal over the next 50 years? I'm hoping the two that we're talking about now, the sanctuary, when the village acquires it, like they should have done, and develop that, that's 3. I don't see really any other developments on the horizon for El Portal, and I'm very happy with that. It's a huge part of why I love this village. And so we're not talking about a revenue mechanism here. We're talking about an opportunity 2, perhaps 3 times over the next 50 years. And so that, to me, is the core reason why a more kind of a detailed structure would be necessary, because it's not going to be a source of revenue that can be redirected in the future. It's going to be 3 opportunities, 2 perhaps, 3.5. And so these are, I think that's kind of what Courtney specifically was kind of getting at in terms of the risk of reappropriation. I termed it risk of reappropriation based on his notes, but meaning, is there a mechanism, or is there truly not a mechanism where funds could be moved to a different department, what have you, outside of that, based on everything we're passing this evening? I don't expect there to be a structure tonight before we pass these 2 items. I recognize the need for these 2 items. My concern becomes if we don't have a structure together by the time that deposit would come in, then that's going to create, at a minimum, drama, and then a further concern would be that, a lost opportunity. So.
Any, Councilperson Roman, Vice Mayor Nicholson? So I am going to, before I ask for a motion, I just want to make one comment. So, Councilperson Urban, I have asked if you'd like to chair Admin and Finance. I haven't gotten an answer yet. Because if you would like to, and when I asked you that question a few days ago here, part of my asking you that question was because I was going to propose the chair of Admin and Finance to work alongside the manager to write this. So I really do, if it's something that I believe that you would want to do, and if you have that opportunity, just let us know, because this is something that it is incredibly important, and I was going to be asking the chair of Admin and Finance Committee to work on that.
My father's in surgery. I'll know later this evening if I would be able to commit to that.
Okay, so if you do that, and then just let the clerk know. Okay. Madam Clerk, and I have, I need a motion to adopt ordinance 2019-07, if there is one.
A motion to adopt.
Motion's been made by Councilperson Roman. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Madam Mayor.
Second by Vice Mayor Nickerson. Any discussion before I ask for roll call? All right, hearing none. Madam Clerk, may I have roll call, please?
Councilperson Urban.
Yes.
Councilperson Roman.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Mayor Cubillos.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you. If I can please have the attorney read ordinance 2019-08 into the record.
Ordinance number 2019-08, an ordinance of the Village Council of the Village of El Portal, Florida, approving and authorizing the mayor and village manager to execute and to otherwise enter into a development agreement between the Village of El Portal and BH 495 Northeast 83rd Street LLC for the development of property located within the village as recorded in Official Records Book 28751, pages 808 through 809, and Official Records Book 2867, pages 4489-4491 of the Public Records of Miami-Dade County, Florida, and as more fully described in the development agreement, which is attached hereto as Exhibit A, authorizing the appropriate village officials to do all things necessary to effectuate the intent of this ordinance, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Can you just provide a little background for those in the audience that have not been here?
Again, this is actually the last step in the process. This actually, as it states in the title, this provides that if it's passed, it will authorize the mayor and manager to execute the proposed development agreement, which would be the Cavista project. And that's it.
And also for clarity purpose, by allowing us to accept the Cavista project is also accepting the dollar amount of 1.1 million.
Right, and just, I think the question was asked earlier, this is just approving the terms of the development agreement, including the development fee. There still has to be the steps that have to be taken by the developer to go through the city's approval process. So the site plan has to come back to the council, whatever variances, whatever plans that are going to be proposed for the project have to all come back to us. This doesn't, rubber stamp what's being presented today.
Did you want to say anything, add to this? No. Did you all want to add anything, either AJ, Ken, or Ben, or the architect at this time? No? Any questions from the council on this ordinance to either the attorney or to the manager? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to open up for public comments on ordinance 2019-08, which is the actual acceptance of the development agreement. Just state your name and address for the record.
Courtney Kirk, 265 Northeast 87th. I'll be as brief as I can on this one. At the Planning Zoning Committee, I felt that the Barrington Brothers presented a very reasonable and appropriate development for that area. They could do it by right at 6 stories or 5 stories, whatever the number is. It is in a semi-commercial kind of area where there is, to my knowledge, the only single-family housing is across the street. Everything else is duplexes, et cetera. So it's a reasonable location for it. It fits in, I think, with what we're hoping for at the village. These are, I don't know whether I'd call them luxury apartments, but certainly upscale apartments with nice amenities, et cetera. And I would hope that people affording that sort of money and using those sorts of facilities would be very welcome in El Portal and mix in with everybody else that we have here, from poor to rich. So I believe this is good for El Portal, and I hope that this will be the beginning of a nice relationship with these developers, because they seem to be doing a very reasonable thing. And I know they still have to go through, as the attorney has said, they still have to go through all the hoops of site plans, approvals, permits, yada, yada, yada. So they still have a lot of work to do as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Courtney. Any other public comments? Okay, hearing none. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 2019-08? Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 2019-08? Sorry.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 2019-08, Madam Mayor.
Motion's been made by Vice Mayor Nickerson. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilperson Erbrum. Is there any questions or discussion from the council on this ordinance?
I just had one more comment to make about the height. I know one of the residents was asking about the height. I had a chance to ask the developers a few questions the last meeting we had as well. And it sounds to me that with this height, they went as high as they were allowed to go. They were restricted to that height. I also, I would love to see Miami with nothing but like 4-story max. I'm an idealist. I understand I'm not going to get my way, but this does seem to be a reasonable compromise. And so I'll just say that about the height of the building. So there you go.
Thank you. Any other comment from Vice Mayor Nickerson or Councilperson Roman? All right, thank you. Madam Clerk, may I have roll call, please?
Roll call. Councilperson Erbum.
Yes.
Councilperson Roman.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Mayor Cubillos.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Okay, thank you. And just to repeat again, there will be on the lookout. If you do not get the emails from the clerk, sign up at the village website, elportalvillage.com, and be in tune of the town hall that we will most likely have sometime in January. And hopefully the second reading for these ordinances will take place on the fourth Tuesday in February. Thank you for your time, and I will go on now to the individual reports. Give me one moment. Okay, now we're going to go into the mayor, manager, and the attorney reports, and if there are any end of the year comments that the council would like to make as well. So a couple of points that I wanted to just wrap up as we wrap up 2019. I really want to thank everybody, first and foremost. I want to thank our village clerk. I want to thank our village manager. I want to thank our village attorney, and I want to thank the council. We attend a lot of meetings, we do a lot of work, and sometimes it's not the easiest of work, and sometimes we do not necessarily agree, but as long as we can move forward to the greater good, that would, at the end of the day, that's why we're elected. 2019 hasn't necessarily ended in the fashion that I thought that the village would hopefully end, and I think that as many great things that this administration has been working on, it gets clouded over a one item, which I am going to discuss tonight, and that's FEMA. So it's really unfortunate how no matter the amount of work that we do and the amount of work that continues to happen and the great work that is done, it is all overlooked because Village hasn't gotten their money back. And we are equally as frustrated, we are equally as angry, and we are equally in the dark with why. On July 11th, the manager and I had a closeout meeting with FEMA from Washington, D.C. And they specifically on that conference call, which was well over 30 minutes, said to us, and they followed up with an email that I have no problem sharing, and that email specifically said that you all have passed through a lot of hoops and you have done excellent work. And now all of your money through all of the 8 or 9 projects has been obligated to the state of Florida. I don't have the total dollar amount, but the federal government, FEMA, obligated to the state of Florida of $2.3 million. It's a little more than our loan that we have taken out, and we have gotten an extension, and I apologize, it's not a loan, it's a line of credit. And it really has been a disappointment that since then, now they have, the state of Florida now has your money, our money, and now they just have a lot more questions. All of the questions that they're asking are questions that we have continually answered. The Miami Herald calls us and they ask us the same questions. And, you know, the manager brought up a really good point to the Miami Herald, and that was, why isn't the state of Florida being asked these questions? Why are small cities being targeted as something that has been done wrong? Nothing has been done wrong. What is wrong is that the state of Florida has not given us our money back, because it is hard money that we have paid as taxpayers here that have lived here for a really long time. And I challenge every single resident that instead of asking us all those questions, instead of doubting the quality of work that was done, I challenge every resident to really get on the state of Florida and demand where our money is. Because I do believe one thing. I do believe that if all of the residents would come together and the council would come together on this issue and fight with one united voice, there's strength there and we will get our money back. But right now, no one is doing that. The only people that are fighting for the money is the manager and myself. We're the only true believers behind this entire fight, and the attorney who is on every phone call. And we are on every phone call, we are in every email, we email constantly. And the state of Florida does not give us any answers. But do you want to know what's happened? I will tell you. It has been over 2 years since Irma. And now we are talking to people in the state of Florida that, guess what? They have just been hired. They weren't even there when Irma hit us. So they're asking us questions that we have answered over and over and over. Does it justify their jobs? Probably. Because if they didn't have all of this work to research, they wouldn't be there. So I challenge every single one of you, because it is our money. It is a taxpayer's money that they are withholding. And I asked the Herald, who is here today, to really ask the state of Florida, what are you all doing to pay, why is a small city of our size being put through this? Why? It's a question we ask the state of Florida, and they don't answer it. I challenge every single resident who is not only here, but is watching, whether it's tonight or whether it's in a couple of days, call the state of Florida, find out what is going on. Because I do believe that if they got more calls on behalf of the village of El Portal, we might just get answers. If you don't want to just call us because maybe you have no faith in us, then call your county commissioner, call your state senator, call your state representative, call your congressman, because all of them got elected by all of you. Why aren't you all calling them? Why are we being challenged and being looked at as if something was done wrong? Nothing was done wrong. But I will say this. So at a meeting that we had with the interim CFO, I mentioned something to the manager, which I'm going to say on the record because I have no problem saying it. And that is the next time there is a hurricane, because we will have another hurricane. There's no doubt about that. Not sure who's going to be elected, not sure who's going to be living here, and not sure what manager will be here. But there will be another hurricane. And I told the manager, we need to take a look at our county MOU. Why? Because the county will come pick up all of our trash. They'll pick up the debris on the sidewalks. They're going to do it. It's just not going to be in the 4 weeks that we had it done. They might pick it up in 4 months. And then the calls will be a little interesting then, because what happens with all of the debris hanging out in the swells is going to collect rodents, there's public safety and all of that good stuff. So, you know, it's really easy for 2 years later for those that worked to be ridiculed or questioned or doubted. But at that time, when all of that work was being done, it was quality, good, honest, decent, hard work done by people like me that I don't get paid anything to do this, as well as the manager, who at the time was relatively new. So the bullying that I feel that the village of El Portal has gotten, maybe it's because we're a small city, it's easy to pick on us. I don't really have those answers. But the only thing I can say is this. If you all are passionate about El Portal, as you all say you are, and some of you have told me you are, if you all really care because we're taxpayers, then I challenge you all to call your state senator. I challenge you all to call your congressman and demand, why have we not gotten our money? Why? Because once you get that answer, I'd love to know too. Because it is unfair. It is unfair that we were supposed to meet with the head of FEMA today, and all of a sudden they call us today, oh, well, no, you weren't on the calendar. There's no time for you. Really? See, that's the stuff that we deal with almost day in and day out. No respect. Because, I don't know, maybe they have bigger cities to deal with. We don't really know what the case may be. But I'm going to tell you that your manager and your mayor constantly are on the phone with them demanding answers. Because we have a right, the village of El Portal has a right to be paid back. And if it's the last thing that I do as a mayor here, we will get our money back. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I'm going to tell you that I have enough perseverance, I have enough grit, I've been through a lot, and we're going to get that money back. But it would really help if everybody had a united voice on it. It would really, it might make the process a little quicker, might make it happen a little quicker, but it would also just mean something. Because if at the end of the day what matters most is to get the money back, then let's work on that. Let's work on getting our money back, because it belongs to the village of El Portal, not to the state of Florida. And it has been there way, way, way too long. So I challenge all of you If you have public records requests, ask them to the state of Florida. You don't have to ask us, ask them. Ask the state of Florida for public records requests on what hours are they putting in to look over our work. How much are they getting paid? Where is that money coming from? Is it coming from our dollars that now we're probably going to get less on? I don't have the answer. Do you all have it? I really challenge all. We're going into a brand new decade. It's a brand new time. The village of El Portal has a lot of great things happening, and we do not deserve this treatment. Not from the Miami Herald, not from the state of Florida. We do not deserve it at all. We should be equally respected as Miami Beach, as a city Miami, as Miami Gardens, as Doral, or South Miami, because it does not make a difference what city we're in, or because we're smaller, that we are worth less. No, we're all human. We're all worth exactly the same. The difference is that we actually need our money. We actually need our money back. I want to, a couple of things before I want to, FEMA was the one thing I wanted to discuss. The next thing is, as most of you know, we've been Tree City USA for 4 years in a row. We really need a tree board chair. If anybody is interested in being a tree board chair, please reach out to the manager or to the clerk and let them know, and they will get back to me or the chair of Public Works. Let's see. They're proprietors for the Little Farm. I believe I got an email, most of us got an email that on October 31st, they have hired a master plan company. That should mean something really good. As we move forward into the new year, we have instructed Placerbia to create an El Portal architectural guidebook. So you all can look for that in spring of 2020. Let's see. Our clerk has earned her certification for municipal clerk. That also happened. We have 2 sergeants. Officer Burrell was promoted to sergeant. Officer Sharp is promoted to sergeant. The El Portal Police Department also won Small Agency of the Year by Ring. I want to thank the residents who came together during September for the Bahamas relief by donating many, many items. The impact that our small city had at the county when we dropped off the stuff, dropped off all the items, was quite impressionable. We have secured the necessary easement on the Horseman School grounds so that the process for the phase 1 for septic to sewer on the west side can start moving along again. Look in spring of 2020, look forward to the 5th anniversary of our little library. The manager has, we've sort of modernized it a little bit, and we have a bigger one coming to be able to accommodate all the books. We have a wealth of books, that a book exchange program. If you're unfamiliar with it, I encourage you to go to Little Free Library. I'm not a big Kindle person. I like to touch and feel my books, so I love the exchange program. That was brought forward in February of 2014, and so we'll be celebrating our 5-year anniversary. Let's see. Councilperson Roman was appointed to the Need Streets Miami Board, Councilperson Urban to the Long Range Planning Committee. This sort of highlights of 2019. We also have, the manager has put together, along with Craig Smith, a cost analysis for all of our roads, to have a roadmap to address all of our streets and infrastructures. So we have an idea of what every street, the damage that they have right now, and what it's going to cost to repair them, whether it takes us 3, 5, or 10 years. We have at least a cost of what it would look like, in the next 3 years at least. I received an email this morning with the manager that there is a company that has donated, I believe, 10 bikes, 5 or 10 bicycles for children for Christmas. They donated it to the Miami-Dade County League of Cities, and as a current president, El Portal will be receiving those 10 bikes. I've mentioned to the manager that I'll work with her and the chief to see how we're going to disseminate the 10 bikes. I'd like them to go to 10 children in our community that are in need. I will be hosting annually I've been hosting a toy giveaway at at Phyllis Ruth Miller. I don't have a time, but that should be happening on Friday. the morning on Friday. Friday is December 20th. El Portal is signed and is part of the Resilient 305. But real quick on Resilient 305, we're only as good as the activity that everybody gets involved. So being part of Resilient 305 just provides access. So nothing great happens by the mayor signing the accord, but what does happen is it gives access to all of you to be able to either take training in the county or anything. If you want to know more, I encourage you to email the manager or email myself or email the clerk and get more information on that, because Resilient 305 also, there's a lot of training for residents who, if you want to get more involved with when there is an acute disaster, how can I receive training to be, hands-on in the first few days, they provide a lot of training of that. They also provide, which I think is fantastic, I might have the name, first, what is it called? Non-stop bleeding, first bleeding. What is the thing by the Florida Department of Homeland? It escapes me. Stop the bleeding. Stop the bleeding. They provide training on that, so with a city of our size, all hands on deck are very helpful when we have a disaster. So again, we become part of these programs to provide all of you the access to be able to be a part of it by signing up and all of that good stuff, by having access to those websites. I was also advised on Friday that there is a resident on Sherwood Forest who is a veteran who has been selected by the Miami Dolphins Foundation, and his house will be painted and slightly renovated. I don't have the details. It is this Thursday. I told the manager already, and as soon as I get the timing, I will let her know so that the council will know. They just haven't gotten back to us, but I thought that was another good story to know about. It'd be great if the Herald would write about great stories about El Portal such as that. And our young lady that is a nominee for the Grammys, who I don't know if you were here for that, but she was here, and we gave her a proclamation. I think the manager finalized also Rob Arano, the CDBG grant. And I'm trying to think of other highlights, just a few highlights that the newsletter is out. If you have not received an email, let the clerk know, but it's been on our website as well, and it'll be hand delivered to your homes by Friday. Today's Tuesday, yes, by Friday. And I believe that concludes, stand by. Yeah, I'm sure something will come up, but that really wraps up 2019 with some of the highlights that we have been able to achieve this year amongst the dark cloud. But there's a lot of great things happening in our village, and I'm gonna let now move on to our manager and then our attorney, who will provide with more reports, and if any council member afterwards would like to send end of the year as well.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. You did a really good synopsis, and I don't have a whole lot to add to that, but I can state that we are working on a parking plan with our planners up Serbia for the Northeast 2nd Avenue business corridor, and we've been in talks with the county as well as some private entities on how to address our parking needs, since we are a community that is already well established, but we are facing a parking challenge. So that will be coming before planning and zoning, I'm sure, very soon, and stay tuned for that. Our police department continues to do its very best in filling in. We've had a little bit of a scheduling matter, but our ranks have encased the situation, and we have our staff really doing a great job in solving cases and working with the county to address speeding and traffic on northwest side of town, northwest 5th Avenue and 91st Street. They're continuing to work on those matters, and we have equipment that will be put into place very soon. We've already ordered the speed tracking devices, and they will be coming in, and we'll be placing those. So that will help with traffic study and those things that we really want to push in the beginning of the year. So stay tuned for that as well. We are also, I'm just trying to go through quickly because I don't want to hold everyone, but we're finishing up an environmental audit for our phase 1 of the CDGB funds that we received. That's part of the contract that we have to do. So we're finalizing all of that tomorrow, and I will be sending that over to the county and signing it. So another item that will probably be on Public Works Committee coming in January about the contract for the funding. And sadly, we could not get anyone in the El Jardín area to allow for us to put an easement or outfall in along their property line. So we have to come up with an alternative to cure that stormwater issue, or we give the money back. Well, we don't want to do that. We want to solve our stormwater issues. So we are looking at an alternative, but we could not get anyone to agree to allowing us just a 10-foot easement to go through to the C7 canal. So we're back at the drawing board, but we're going to come up with something. So I'm working with Orlando Rubio, who is our engineer with Craig A. Smith, to address that. The mayor and I worked with him and walked that area and met with residents too out there as we try to find a place to put that outfall. So residents were not willing to do the easement. We have to come up with something else. We did have our beautiful annual tree lighting holiday celebration here on Friday the 13th, and it was a very nice event, well attended. Santa came in on a fire truck, and lots of residents had a good time. It was a very nice holiday event, and I think residents were coming.
No snow.
No snow, but that's why we live in Miami. I do want to invite all of the residents to come to tomorrow's bridge meeting. The county is going to be closing, the North Miami Avenue, only one lane, closing down one lane, but there is going to be some serious traffic issues on North Miami Avenue starting in the beginning of the year when that project starts. They are renovating and reconstructing that bridge over the canal, and that traffic will be diverted down to one lane. So there will be a public meeting here for residents to get answers from the county as to how long it's going to take, what it's going to look like, and what happens, how long will it be before we can have access, and then what's going to happen when they come over on Northeast 2nd Avenue. So that is tomorrow, 6 to 8 p.m. here in Village Hall. Please join us. And really fast, our legislative team they've been activated. We're all hands on deck. As the mayor said, this FEMA reimbursement is key. And it is all we live and breathe every day, all day, because we are constantly answering, providing, giving whatever they need. They keep asking for the same things over and over again. We're providing it. And we did good work, and we got obligated. And they said we did good work, so we're ready for our reimbursement. So we do have our lobbying teams in place. They are working on that. We've actually put aside some of our usual things because we've made this the priority. We will be working on our other priorities, which is the stormwater and septic to sewer and traffic safety. Those are still on the legislative agenda. In fact, have been promoted by our state rep, Dottie Joseph, who sponsored those three bills for the village of El Portal. But we are really, really laser focused on the FEMA reimbursement as well. And I have been in touch with our federal representatives as well as our state. So we'll continue to work on that. And that concludes my report.
I apologize. Can I add something to that? Because I'm a little passionate about this one. So the manager has talked about the bridge on North Miami Avenue. North Miami Avenue. They're going to remove the palm trees. So I'm not happy about it. And we really need residents to show up Wednesday night. That's tomorrow. That's a great time to come together because they are going to remove those trees. They're going to remove them because they said that it obstructs the view. And my question to them was, why always El Portal? Why aren't you removing the trees in Miami Shores? These are the palm trees on North Miami Avenue, the median. On the median. It's really important. This is a great time for you to come together with your neighbors, and please attend that meeting tomorrow. I know that Councilperson Roman has posted it. I believe the clerk has emailed it out, but please, that is tomorrow night. The meeting is here. And that is, I'm sure the county is not really happy at the moment, but I'm really, and if they have to seriously move the trees, the palm trees, which you've seen them, they're like 30 feet high. Where are they gonna put them? They cost so much money. So really, 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 tomorrow, what time is the meeting?
6 p.m. to 8
6
p.m. here
p.m.
in Village Hall.
6 p.m. It's there, and I really hope that they start the bridge in summer. That would probably make most sense, right? That would be a really good idea. That's another thing that, as parents, as you know, traffic, I hope they start this project in summer. Would make most sense. But this is a great time for you all. Please, I will be here. Really important meeting tomorrow. I just wanted to add that little note. And then the other thing is, I found it. So I didn't realize I have. If you can all bear with me, because, and this is, you don't even have to ask the clerk, so I can email it to you. This is, I received an email on July, the manager and I received an email on July 11th, and it's from our, back then he was our manager from FEMA, Washington, D.C. And the email was received July 11th at 1:18 p.m. And it says, to the Village of El Portal officials, DPO, that's our contracting company, and the city's constituents. Thank you for completing the process of grant funding with FEMA. I know it's a process to get your grant. I know it's a long process to get your grants funded. DPO, Disaster Program Operations, did a wonderful job for you. Each project passed through so many levels and hands to get to this point. There were many FEMA employees all working towards this goal. I am honored to work for FEMA, and it's days like this that make it all worthwhile. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. The state will handle things from here. I know Gabriella is from Disaster Program Operations, will be able to help you with this. Gina Riley was copied on the emails. She has been very responsive to other applicants as well that we have dealt with. And there's also Amanda Kappen. Sincerely, and thank you, Corey Wrighton from FEMA, Program Delivery Task Force Leader out of Washington, D.C. And that was July 11th. And we are in December, and we have received nothing. I'll open it up to the attorney for his report.
I just have a brief report. The evidentiary hearing that we were scheduled to have this week has been canceled because we've been able to reach a resolution with the Police Benevolent Association to conduct the reopeners early next year. Also concerning the easement, I've reached out to Pinoni, forwarded the easement to them. They are reviewing the easement to make sure that there's no changes or amendments that may be required, and I should be reporting back at the next meeting or bringing back the original settlement that we had proposed a few months ago to get that process moving forward. That's it.
At this time, is there any council member that would like to add any comments on anything they've been working on or to wrap up the year? Vice Mayor Nickerson?
Yeah, how's everybody doing? Good to see everybody here tonight. I just wanted to say that, this past year, as the mayor said, through all the news that's been coming out, that I feel blessed to have worked with all of you guys. Madam Mayor, Manager Alou, Councilperson Irvam, I appreciate it, man, sitting next to you. I've learned a lot from you. I appreciate it, my brother. My former seat partner over there. How you doing, Councilperson Roman? Attorney, Mr. Attorney, my brother. I appreciate all the work you've done for us. And last but not least, the one and only clerk. Congratulations on your certification and your ongoing education. And I see nothing but the highest of elevation for you, Madam Clerk. And I can't wait to see in the future where everything takes you with all your certifications and education that you're getting. Madam Mayor, I respect you and more than you could ever imagine. And it's a shame that a lot of people don't see all the work and just don't realize where El Portal once was and where El Portal is now. By far, I have respect for everybody who was here before. By far, Mayor Cabillos has taken El Portal to a much greater place than when I first moved in many, many years ago I could have ever imagined. And that's no disrespect to any of the mayors before her, but El Portal, you guys, if you guys don't remember, El Portal 10 years ago, people didn't even know what El Portal was when I used to go places. Had no idea that El Portal even existed. We are respected because of Mayor Cabillos. I just want everybody out there to be cognizant that this time of the year, especially up north, if you have family members, to reach out to them. A lot of people, because of the wintertime, depression reaches its heights, okay? Sadness goes up. So if you do have family members and people that live especially in colder areas, reach out to them and keep them in your mind during this holiday season. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, that's all.
Thank you. Anybody? Thank you, Vice Mayor Nickerson. Councilperson Urban, Councilperson Roman.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to wish everyone a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. We're going into a new decade. I know I'm very excited about 2020, and I'm very proud of what we've done in 2019, how far we've come, how hard our manager, I've said it during different meetings, I feel like we're really coming together. And I want to thank the staff, our clerk, thank you for everything, all of our events, our holiday event. She did all of our decorations, and it really turned out to be a fabulous event. Our police officers, we have a great new chief. I mean, we do have so much to celebrate, and that we're blessed for here in the village of El Portal, and now with hopefully the Cavista project that's coming into the new decade, and so much more. So I feel very blessed to be here. I've lived here since 2005. Serving here for 3 years has been an honor. It hasn't been as, pleasant at times, but I have to say that we live in a community that is very unique. There aren't any communities like this that I know of in Miami, and so I'm proud to say that I am a part of it. So thank you to the council for, I guess, being here and for serving, actually, for all of your hard work. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's.
Thank you. Councilperson Urban? You good? Okay. Before I ask for a adjournment, anybody good in welfare would like to come up and say anything?
I know we're trying to be positive. Sorry, Sandra Valencia, 8633 Northeast Miami Court. I know we're trying to be positive, but I would like to ask a question, what the position of the village is regarding the recent event of Mathis incarceration. So I would like to know if the village has pronounced anything publicly. What is our position regarding that? And if the village in the future will run probably an audit, just suspecting any sort of same issues that he's facing right now. Thank you.
Do you want to answer it? Did you want to answer?
You're asking me to comment?
No.
The village does not, at least from a legal perspective, the village does not have a position. There was an unfortunate incident that happened last week. We're just part of the public, just like everyone else. And we will, if asked to, by whatever authority is investigating the matter, we will cooperate in whatever ongoing inquiries they make of the village, like we've done with everything else in the past.
Okay, and are we trying, is the village will run an audit to our financial, he was the chair.
The village is audited every year by state law. Audits are done. I believe we've finalized an audit just a few weeks ago.
Yes, and we're about to go into
That was
another one.
before all this came out.
So
Again, the village has completed its audit. There's nothing remarkable in the audit concerning any irregularities.
Okay,
And
that's good to know. Okay, thank you.
A couple of things. So, just to reiterate, the village does do an audit every year, and the audits are posted on the website too. If you go to the homepage,
Yeah.
on the right and the bottom, they're all there. And that's self-audit. We do it every single year.
Okay.
The kind of good position also is that the manager has brought in a new pair of eyes for our finance department. Chris Wallace, I believe.
Yes, Chris Wallace.
And he has a lot of municipal experience. I think most of it is in Broward for the most part, but pretty solid experience. So that's a great part because now you have fresh eyes looking in. The other thing I wanted to correct, Harold Mathis was not the chair of admin and finance.
Oh.
The chair, no.
Who
This
is?
past year was Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Oh, and not anymore?
Every December, the mayor has the option to ask, the council what they want to do.
Oh.
What I had mentioned to the council in November was that, 11 months into committee is really not a lot of time to make progress because everything takes so long in government. So I had asked if they had any committee that they were dying to chair to let us know. If not, I wanted to keep things the same so that is an opportunity to see sort of a difference in the committee. The only change that I wanted or I thought of making was, as I mentioned a little while ago, at our holiday staff dinner, I had asked Councilperson Erber if he wanted to chair admin and finance.
Got it.
And he said he would let me know. Hopefully by tomorrow I'll know. And that would be the only change. But Councilperson Mass was not the chair.
Okay, that's what I thought.
No, he
Okay.
was not. No, the chair.
And regarding replacing him, what's gonna happen?
There's no authority. There's no local authority that we have. If he is removed, it is by the governor. There's two choices. He's removed. It's either by the governor or he resigns.
And, that was on the article, that the governor removed him. He actually just publicly said, yeah, it's on the article.
Yeah.
I'm just reading the press.
Yeah. Well, he's right here. The governor has not called me. Has not called the manager. And I have been called before when things have come up, but I have not. If I would get a call, the first person that's going to know is the manager and the attorney.
I'm just asking from what I read when the article came out. But if he's removed from chair, are we running for elections?
It's really interesting because believe it or not, about 6 months ago, after Warner Dreher resigned and we had to pay for an election, I think maybe like 30 days after that election, I suggested to the committee that we really need to take a look at our charter because we can't afford special elections. It's a lot of money.
I agree.
Warner Dreher's election is $16,000. That was not budgeted for.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 2 months after the election. So I had recommended to the council for us to take a look at our code, and it would go out to vote. It's a referendum. You all would vote, and that would be that if we're in the situation where if someone is removed or someone resigns, that the council can appoint someone.
But we, as residents, we would like to have a vote anyway, somehow, a voice.
If
that happens.
Yeah, and if this were to have actually passed, it would first have to go to you all on a ballot, and you would have to say, yes, I agree for this amendment to change, so that there's an option. Either we can have the special election, maybe we have an abundance of money, we want to spend $50,000 on an election, or you authorize the council to appoint someone by majority, there's got to be 3 votes to appoint somebody, up to the next election, so that when the next election, that person can run or somebody else runs. But at least it gives us an option. Right now, we have no option. If the governor removes him, then my next question is how long can we have 4 instead of 5? Because I would hate to put the village through another special election right now.
Right.
We just got out of one.
Right, no, I understand. So that's a concern for all of us. But also, if we get to pass this motion of you guys being able to actually, name someone to take over, I would like to just bring the idea of having someone that represents the residents, someone that probably we can choose
to represent us within, so we have a voice in the council, you know? I mean, even if it's not a council person, I don't know if that works. I mean, the legality of it, I have no idea. But
Understand.
I would like for the residents to have a voice anyways, if that comes to happen, you know?
Understand.
What? Well, choosing that person somehow without the cost of a whole
Yeah.
election,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
I know.
somehow.
It's not,
Anyways.
it's not what I would like to see happen for this village, so.
Right, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Mhm.
Appreciate it.
Ibis Garcia, 500 Northwest 87th. First, I would love to thank the council, mayor. I moved here in 2014, and I, for one, have seen the amazing changes that our village has gone through. I come from this type of a place. I was raised as my husband was in Miami Springs and Virginia Gardens, which is very much Miami Shores and El Portal West Coast. I call it the east and the west side of the same coin. I'm used to this type of scenario, which is why my heart was so happy when I was able to find a home here. And I've jumped in to getting involved for that reason, because I like to continue that feeling that you get from this village. And I think your collected ideas and projects are helping us move along that. I believe that you, Mayor Claudia, have done an amazing job at pushing those projects and bringing up great new ideas along with the rest of the council. We need some of these great projects that are coming in. These types of apartment buildings that are coming in are coming regardless. I'm happy that we cap at 8 stories, because I don't want to see the monstrosities that you now have in downtown in Brickell. You feel like you're driving through a canyon. And I worry that Biscayne Boulevard will eventually become that, because not for our doing, but because of the city's doing, Miami and Miami-Dade County in general. Everybody wants to live here. That causes more traffic, more issues, more costs. But I love that our united vision is to keep a sense of community here that you're not gonna get outside, but you're still, to me, I tell everybody I live in the gem that's in the heart of Miami-Dade. Nobody is aware of it, and that makes it such a gem, because you don't usually find a gem shining out bright. You find it hidden. So it's a hidden gem that allows a community feel that you don't get anywhere else. I would love to see our village focus on more environmental issues where it comes to the sea walls and the river. That's my big platform, and it has always been. I love working with the Little River Conservancy as we have. I love the tandem team there. The Women's Club of El Portal, I believe they bring a lot to our village as well. They keep that sense of community, and I love volunteering with them as well. But to definitely focus on, you know, the iguanas that are driving us insane on the river. They are burrowing their way through the foundations, and we're losing the river properties faster every single day because of this. And we need to, I know FWC has done different priorities now with the iguanas, but we need to at least put that somewhere on an agenda for good and welfare for the residents, because they're getting bolder. They're crossing the streets now. I'm seeing them go, you know, other people's yards further. They're getting further into the village, and they eat everything. They destroy habitats. Birds, we're a bird sanctuary, and they do cause a lot of damage, I believe, when they're young with bird eggs and stuff like that. Not when they're older. When they're older, I think they're vegetarians, but when they're younger, they're not. So just to add that to our forthcoming projects, and I know that we did at one point, when I first came in, we had stuff on the table. There were grants available. There were things available that were set aside for seawall projects, but then so many other things came into play that I know it got sent off somewhere. I would love to have the council and the mayor bring that back to something in the forefront for our residents on the water. And thank you again for the work that you've done, and I'm hoping 2020 will be a good year. Thank you.
Anybody else in Good and Welfare? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to bring it up back to the council. And before I ask for adjournment, there is three things I need to say. Lieutenant Mendez also is new on board. I was mentioning all the highlights, and I forgot to mention you. I am so sorry. Lieutenant Mendez is also on board. And as private as this is, my condolences go to Officer Battaglia. Officer Battaglia lost his father a couple of weeks ago, and he just lost his mom. And as private as I know that is, I shared with all of you that, you know, I don't know how many of you have lost your parents. I have, back to back, and it's never good. It's very hard. So, and we're not sure when he's going to be back, but keep him in your prayers because he's young. It doesn't matter if you're young or old, but my heart goes out to him and his family because he's been a tremendous asset to the police department. They've all been one big family with Officer Battaglia, and so if you don't hear him as active right now on Nextdoor or any other social media, you all have a little of understanding why. So with that said, I want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. I am always here, no matter of what you have to say is great or not great. I'm here to listen to the good, the bad, and the ugly, and to bring forward any other ideas that you believe is going to make our village a better place. After I won mayor in 2014, I started a hashtag called I Heart El Portal, and I really do. I mean, I really do. My husband often wonders if I love it more than I love him, and if I love it more than I love my own business, because I'm here all the time, and I really believe in what I do. But you know, my employees really don't see me as much as they'd like to. But I genuinely mean it, and no matter if I'm in office or not, I'm going to feel that way because I live here. So everything I do is for perpetuity because I'm not going anywhere, even if I'm not sitting up here. So I only want the best, and hence why the hashtag is I Heart El Portal. With that said, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. May I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion's been made by Councilperson Roman. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion to adjourn, Madam Mayor.
Second by Vice Mayor Nickerson. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Hearing none, our December meeting adjourns at 8:54 p.m. Thank you.